Alright, so In Search of Darkness 2 is starting to hit inboxes around the world. This year, they came out with a digital edition first, coming out here in November, and supposedly we're going to get the physical copy in December, but more likely next year on that, I would guess. Now, this time around, they had a couple more special editions. In fact, they had 12 different editions of this movie that you could have bought. And I know I was kind of wishy-washy after the first one, but I decided to go ahead and take the plunge, and I got two different versions. I got the Linnea Quigley version and the Elvira version. So was doubling down the right thing to do? I'm gonna have to say it was definitely not. And, you know, before I get into that, let me talk about what is different this time around than last year. So, famously last year, they had some issues with production, specifically of their Blu-rays. They did eventually switch manufacturers and fix most of those issues. The Blu-ray we ended up getting was a little bland. There was no special features, no reversible slip. I went ahead and put my pen backer and my postcard in there, just for a little something, but it just barely passed mustard. Passed mustard? Passed mustard. Long story short, they made it right last year. This year, the physical media component is purported to be quite a bit better. There's going to be a slipcover, there is going to be reversible inserts, and a collectible booklet in the case. Additionally, this time around, you're getting 4 posters instead of 3. That's assuming you picked one of the hosted versions. Of course, having bought 2 of these, I'm going to be getting 8 posters in the mail. I'm going to put those right... I can put them on the ceiling. Is everybody else kind of drowning in these special edition posters? Is it just me? Between Scream Factory and In Search of Darkness, I just have stacks of these posters. You know, maybe do the MVD way and fold it up and put it in the case. That way every now and then I can take it out, look at it, and, you know, put it away and never think about it again. Additionally, you're going to get the enamel pin and your name in the credits. Now, it might take a while to find your name in the credits, but it's probably in there somewhere. There's also some kind of throwaway digital features that I really didn't care about, so I'm not going to go into right now. So let's start with the good. I just finished watching this a couple of hours ago, and I gotta say part 2, head and shoulders better than part 1. One of my big complaints about part 1 was it was all very mainstream stuff. It was all stuff that I actually probably already had. Now, in part 2 here, they get into some foreign films, they get into giallos, they get into some Asian cinema, and a bunch of other less than mainstream topics that were tragically missing from the first film. They're getting into Chud, and they're having Joe Dante talk about the Gremlins knockoffs.
Ghoulies. Well, first there was Gremlins, then there was Ghoulies, and then there was Munchies. And then there was Hobgoblins. If I had to give my blessing to any of the ripoffs, I would definitely choose the Critters series.
And, you know, there's quite a lot of fun to be had this time around. You know, I like part 2 way better than part 1. And I think that is about where my good part of this review ends. So, here we go. The controversy this year. As you may remember, last year, you know, one of the interesting parts about this movie is that with In Search of Darkness Part 1, there was different cuts of the movie. You know, you had your Corey Taylor version, you had your Dead Meat version, and of course you had your Elvira edition. And each of those special hosted editions were longer than the original cut of the movie. They had a few extra movies in them as well, and quite frankly, I really dug the whole, you know, different cuts of the movie thing. I really enjoyed that. You know, especially when they put the standard edition on Shudder, because, you know, I still knew that I had the Elvira edition, and my version was longer, it had more movies, and you know what? People on Shudder, they can have their standard version. I'm okay with that. I got the special collector's Elvira edition, and, you know, everything is right with the world. Unfortunately, this time around, they dropped the separate cuts of the movie. That's right, every single cut of the movie, all 12 of them, are the same. Yes, they've got different splash pages on Vimeo. Yes, they're going to have different boxes. But every single one is the same movie. And yes, that's probably going to be the same movie that gets put on Shudder next year. So happy I paid $80. Yeah, they raised the price this year. $80 for the same movie that was in every other case and will be free on Shudder next year. Now, there is one difference in these, and that is a quote-unquote mini-doc that is in each of these. I'll talk about the Elvira version first, and then we'll talk about the Linnea Quigley version. So the Elvira version, a lot of retread from the special features in her other movies. namely Elvira Mistress of the Dark, but they do get into her other roles like Pee-wee's Big Adventure and her TV stuff, and generally, it's an interesting watch. Now, at the end of the Elvira version, there's all of these lead-ins for movies, because obviously they were gonna have it be hosted this year as well. You can see from this clip.
Slumber Party Massacre. Humanoids from the Deep. Friday the 13th, Part 2. Halloween 5. The Revenge of Michael Myers. Angel Heart. Street Trash.
That they definitely had planned for it to be hosted. Now, why would they have shot all that and then not put it in the movie? Well, the only thing I can think of is that they did it to save money. So that's right, they raised the price this year to $80, and they skimped out on kind of the big selling factor of this movie for me. Super, super disappointing. Additionally, a couple of the movies they covered in Part 2 were in my original Elvira version as extra movies. So not only did they take out their killer feature, they kind of pissed on the previous killer feature by using those exclusive movies in Part 2. And it doesn't get better from there. The Linnea Quigley version is a 20-minute featurette. 10 of those minutes are actually in the main documentary. They did edit different shots from the films in on her mini-doc to try to, I don't know, confuse you or to make it look different, but it's the exact same audio.
I remember doing the running and I made a mistake, which I'll never do again, and I ate lunch a lot. I remember having to throw up because I was running so much. I was just like, I remember doing the running and I made a mistake, which I'll never do again, and I ate lunch a lot. I remember having to throw up because I was running so much. I was just like,
Now, some of the new stuff that Linnea does talk about in there is interesting. Things like Witch Trap and, of course, Sorority Babes in the Slime Bubble Rama. You may remember I mentioned that in this video. But now your 20-minute feature-selling special feature is only a 10-minute feature-selling special feature. So, was this worth another $80? Yes, because I bought the Elvira version. $80. Okay. Ooh. And I was thinking to myself, different version of the movie, I'll buy the Linnea Quigley version as well. So another $80. $160. Was it worth it? Absolutely not. So obviously the sale window on this is over. I can't recommend that you buy it or not, because currently you cannot. But I am probably never going to buy anything from VC Creator ever again. Yes, documentary was better, but, you know, for $80 and taking away, quite frankly, the one thing that was interesting and unique about the first movie, not worth it. Now, I'm trying to think of something positive in this review on. How about this clip of Elvira?
Mi piace moltissimo il film orrore di Italia.
I would agree. And, as always, thanks for tuning in, and have a great day.